guys, my name is Kimberly Amaya and welcome back to another episode of the Beyond Her podcast, a podcast where I get to interview people who I feel have made an impact on my life, have definitely left their footprint on the world, and have just had an amazing journey beyond like their businesses, their personal growth, and things like that. So today I have a guest, a man who has definitely made a huge impact on my life. His name is Edwin Lopez. Edwin has definitely left his mark on the world. He's a CEO of 2 gyms and has also created a luxury and concierge service for Beverly Hills.
What's up?
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being on my Whittle podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, this is a pretty cool setup. Like,
It's not
I'm kind
mine.
of jealous. I
It's
know,
rented.
but it's cool. Like, feels like very podcast-ish. Is that the word?
Podcast-ish?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So, Edwin, tell us a little bit about your background.
So I am 43 years old. I live here in Los Angeles, California, and I'm an immigrant from El Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
I came here when I was 1 year old and dropped out from high school. And but I've always been an ambitious person to be a hustler and all that. And to just, I didn't, people say a hustler, but like the real definition, at least for me, is I like solving problems. It just turns out that when the more problems you solve, the more money you make. They kind of go hand in hand, and I just figured I love both of them, So I've taken a liking into just taking control of my life, if that makes sense. I used to, when I was younger, I used to think like, yeah, let me make a lot of money. I don't think like that anymore. I think more than anything now, it's like your consistency and like being persistent and doing the things that you love just happens to reward you with abundance.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be love, obviously finances, materialistic stuff, and also being able to spoil your loved ones in whatever format, satisfies you, And I think I've been able to start tasting a little bit of everything based off of the fruits of my labor, and the things that I've contributed into this world and into doing business, in other words,
That's amazing. So you've built quite a life for yourself thus far. I'm sure there's so much more for you to go. But high school dropout and immigrant, moved here at 1 year old. Talk about like that time in your life. Like, do you think like are you one of those like you don't need school to be successful type of people, or were you like that's just kind of like the path life took me and I decided to take it somewhere else?
Well, no, I didn't drop out because I thought I never liked school. It was never my thing, even till now. Like doing tests and all that shit, like I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's in my blood. Like I feel like ambitious to do stuff, you know what I mean, and solve things and have leadership in situations. And I think that is it almost feels like it's part of my DNA, you know what I mean? It's not something that has to be for me to do or anything like that. And I just feel like I just now know that the more I associate myself with people who are making a change or are successful or who are impacting this world, I can understand myself more of like, oh wow, like if I focus on this and I have a set goal of what I want, because I am programmed a certain way, that this is going to be the outcome of it, no matter what. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you said that being hustler, entrepreneur, businessman, like that was just in your DNA, or was there like a person, someone like growing up or along your journey that you were like, oh, okay, this is where I get that from?
I mean, obviously my parents have always had good work ethic, and especially my mom. I just think, I don't know. Yeah, I think I just feel like first our culture's hardworking individuals. I think, Latinos and stuff like that in general, like we do a lot of labor work. I think we're good at that. I don't think we're far from being lazy, the majority of us, I think we build just about everything and anything, Unfortunately, like very few of us take that initial action to be the person who's constructing what to build. You know what I mean? Normally it's not us, whether it's homes or buildings or empires or businesses. I think we're moving on up now, you know, but I think for a long time we've been known for like, hey, and you hear it in people making jokes, you know, like, hey, who's going to build, you know, the walls, or who's going to build this? And it's normally ourselves, you know. But I think now we're catching on and there's more movement. And I think having individuals like us starting to speak out and really collaborating with others as opposed to holding us back, or criticizing each other. I think there's a movement where we're like, fuck this, like we could do this shit ourselves. We could build our own podcast, we could build our own businesses, we could build our own empires, we could collaborate with others. And in that, to be honest, nowadays, I don't think it's the way it used to be. I think there's every culture in it that's just hungry for it, whether you're white, Indian, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter. Like, they're all hungry for it, especially my associations of the people who I started like associating myself with, that I built relationships from, whether it's mentorships, programs, individuals, especially with social media now. Like, I have friends who I've never met.
Yeah.
Yet here we are, being like, hey, did you post today? Did you do your burpees? Did you do this? I didn't see you do that. Or are you going to this event? Or are you doing that? And it feels almost like a brotherhood, but we've never met. And these are individuals who are all types of different, like, cultures and ages and everything. But if you really dial in and like follow their social media, at least from what you see, it's pretty similar. Discipline, you know what I mean? Ambition, willingness to change, willingness to give back, help others. And I think that's what attracts us, you know what I mean? As if like we've known each other forever. And I think it goes both ways also with like being in a gang or being in a bad influence. Like, there's always some similarity that attracts you to that other person. And I think that's why I always go back to proximity is everything. And who you associate yourself with, you don't necessarily happen overnight. But if you hang out with somebody, for example, that does drugs and you don't do drugs, or drinks and you don't drink, if you hang around, sooner or later, you're going to have that moment where you might take that tip, or you might take that hit, and then you find yourself down the road where you're a crackhead or an alcoholic or whatever it might be. And it goes back to the same way, right? Like, if you hang out with people who are successful, people who want it, people who are making millions, like people who have nice things, people who travel, it's only a matter of time. And I think in the beginning for me, I used to think, fuck, I need to work hard, like physically hard, you know? And I think it's part of the formula. But now it's like my proximity is everything. These individuals open doors for me, make me feel a certain way, make me believe in myself, make me take action smarter, harder, and just my brain just thinks differently how I look at success.
Yeah, you've definitely like really honed in on that. I think it's like this past year, like, and I've seen you like attack that part of your life, like your proximity, your associations, and everything. Do you look for like certain people, and like what traits in those people do you look for that you like end up surrounding yourself around and open up conversations with?
Well, I definitely look for, yeah, you're right. I think because I want it, it comes to me in one format or another. You know what I mean? I think that's part of, in a sense, the law of attraction. You seek it, and a door will, if you keep knocking, the door will eventually open. I believe it's in the scripture. And I think I'm hungry for change, and I'm hungry for the next challenge. So those individuals have crossed my path, like Wes Watson, and, you know, I mean, I've known Pat for quite some time, and like, but let's tap into one of the biggest influences that I have right now, which is Wes. I feel, even though he's lived a more crazier life than I have, I think when we are on this on our like calls and everything, if you really look at all the men that are on there and women, we all have a similarity of, these are some tough guys that you see on there, like fucking tatted down, or have done time, or have had addictions, or whatever it might be. And I think everybody has different struggles, but everybody normally in that are pretty tough people. But in this day of age and where we're at in America and in this world, we're looking for leadership. Does that make sense? And I think if you don't have that and you're looking from the outside in, you think like, fuck, that's harsh. But like for somebody like me, I'm seeking for like, hey, I need to be fucking challenged. I need to be fucking, don't lay it down fucking soft. Like fucking tell me what it is. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm noticing. And that's what I see, the similarities that we all have. It's not that we're fucking cowards or bitches or anything like that. We're just seeking leadership. We're seeking, hey, we need toughness. We need like, this is a tough fucking world. And there's a possibility, you know? And so what I do is I look, not, I think that gateway is just opened up to other individuals. So I don't just tap into that one person. I look at the people that it's impacted and how it's changed them. And those are the ones that I feel that I even communicate or adapt to even more because they're going through it or they just went through it, right? Does that make sense? So like if somebody just was fat and now they have a six-pack, or they're fucking stupid discipline and like they have a insane transformation, and I have a conversation with them, I have that common bond where I'm like, oh shit, it is possible. Because at the end of the day, I have to convince my mind that it's possible, right? If I compare myself to like an Elon Musk and I'm like, I don't know what he's worth, 40 billion, let's just say, it's so far-fetched for me that I'm not there mentally strong. But if somebody says, hey, I was a fat ass, I was 220 pounds, and now I have fucking shredded, and I make 50 grand a month or 100 grand a month when I was doing whatever, because of these changes, it's more relatable to me. You know what I mean? Even if they're still ahead of me, I'm like, fuck yeah, it's possible. Achievable. And that's what I get obsessed with. So anything that I do like that, I get obsessed. I have this obsessive, whatever it's called, you know what I mean? Disorder, is that what it is? I don't know. But anyways. It might be, yeah. Yeah, but I hone in on it, you know, and that's what I love and that's what I seek. And sometimes I don't know, it just fucking that's what I live for. Like that shit makes me feel alive.
To challenge the hunger. I think who was it that said it? But they're like, a lion's always hungry. And I wish I could remember the guy who said it so I could quote him correctly. But he said a lion's always hungry because they're constantly chasing and chasing and chasing. So their body is always working, you know? So once they get that catch, the first thing they think about is, where's my next meal coming from? Yeah. And you remind me a lot of that metaphor because you're always like, as far as you've come now, like you're still like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And then when you get that, you're like, okay, where's my next meal coming from? And I think it takes a certain type of person, a certain type of individual with a certain type of mindset to be able to achieve the things that you have now and then still achieve for more. Because I mean, we've seen it. Like we've met Wes Watson and we see the life that he lives, and Albert and Syl and the life that they live, and we're like, that's our next goal. Like, how do we get there? You know, and I think to really like hone in on that mindset and that discipline to be able to get there it's one, well, I found it challenging because you're a lot further along than I am in the journey, but two, like it takes a certain type of person and a certain type of discipline to be able to reach that level of success.
Yeah, I agree, but I agree and I disagree with you because I don't think it has anything to do with, I think you could surpass me if you were just more disciplined. Does that make sense? Just your belief in it, because I think that's what holds people back more. I think that if for example, Mel, right? And we are the same, but I've been training longer, but I haven't counted my macros. But you're like, hey, I didn't know. I've never trained, but I'm going to be disciplined in my macros. You will surpass me, right? Even if 3 years ahead of you. Just for the simple fact that I wasn't disciplined or anything. And I think that's what people misunderstand. And those are the things that I love to hear. Because if you look, and tapping back into Wes, it's like he got out 5.5 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah. And now he's a multi-millionaire from nothing, right? And it's like his thought of the way he thinks and looks at the world, it's why he surpasses so many individuals who have been fucking entrepreneurs, have been doing so much, right? Yeah. So I'll give you a perfect example. He's like, he said, there's individuals, he's like, he gives himself as an example. He's like, when I bought my Rolls Royce, like, you motherfuckers think like you made it and that's it. There's the ambition, going back to the lion, who's like, I'm fucking hungry, what's next? And that's how he was. He's like, yeah, I bought this, but what's next? Like, what I want, and that's kind of how I am, right? Obviously, in a different pace, but I'm seeing that there's a formula there. So, like, for example, when I got my Mercedes, it's a high, oh my goodness. But then what's my next thing? How do I get a Maybach? You know what I mean? So it's cool. Like I just ate today in my car when I said I would never eat. I just don't care about it as much as I did 2 months ago. Does that make sense? So it's like, you continue to, like, you don't give a fuck. You just move on. You know what I mean? You appreciate it, but, like, what's next? And I think that hunger that you have, a lot of people are like, oh, I made it, I'm cool, I sit back, and that's where people lose, because they rest on their laurels and they rest on their fucking those wins, and they think that that's going to take them a long time, and there's just going to be some other predator that's going to come and take that shit.
Yeah, you're right. Before I move on to my next question, you ate?
Wait a cookie.
You, okay. Because I haven't eaten at all today.
Oh, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't. So if you ate without me, then that's another topic we're going to have to dive into. But I love how you did bring up that point of Wes Watson, that he got out of prison 5 years ago, and now he's a multimillionaire. But you was 3 years ago?
What?
That you you had the Lincoln?
No, it's like about 4 or 5 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago. Okay, yeah, that's still not that long ago.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years ago, you had a Lincoln. Where were you at that point in your life? 4 or 5 years ago.
So I had renting a house, 980 square feet, $1,800 a month, Lincoln Town Car, going through a divorce, 2 kids, and it was the best time of my life, because the divorce was the best part. I felt like that I allowed that to kind of stop my growth. So when there's no restrictions, like, I felt like it's kind of like when people get divorced and they, like, there's 2 types. Normally there's, like, the ones that wall out and go fucking sleep around and party and hit the bars and they crash. I've seen that shit a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
And then there's people like myself that was like, I have my kids and all I have is my businesses. And when I did that, everything skyrocketed. And I think, obviously, most people know me, and you're in a relationship, and sometimes you can't comprehend when I tell you, like, I can be okay without being with you if you compromise my goals or my non-negotiables and stuff like that. If you become a liability, like, it's not worth it, because I understand the impact that it will have on the both of us. If you're going for something and it's not aligned with me, if you're emotionally too in love with me, that's your problem, right? Because I have no problem. I'm telling you.
What if it's vice versa? What if you're...
Well, I am in love with you, but I also have dreams and goals.
Yeah.
And I think I've been pretty upfront with you since we started, and I told you, like, I will give you anything in the world except my dreams and goals.
Yeah, that was the first thing
I've
you
never
told me.
lied to you, right? And that goes back to something that Grant Cardone told Elena, you know? That's how life should be in anything that people want. That's why people are fucking miserable, because
they've compromised
they compromise on the things that are good for each other. There's some shit that are bad habits, dude. You know what I mean? They shouldn't work out. But if something's, and I think I posted this yesterday, if something's beneficial for me and is going to benefit you automatically, why would I have to ask you for permission, or why would I have to compromise that? My health, my fitness, taking care of myself, things like that, right? Wanting to make better business decisions. But it goes both ways. If you want to fuck around or want to hang out with your girlfriends or want to go to bars or want to party and be in a club, and I don't want to do that and I'm beyond that, but you say, hey, I'm still in my fucking 20s, I haven't lived that. Yeah, but why do I have to go on the ride? Just because I love you? Yeah. Fuck that. Like, you figure that shit out when you're in your 30s and single and with 2 kids and nothing, and then you're like, oh, fuck, you know what I mean? That's normally how it happens. Look at how many women are single with kids, because they thought And that's what you do in your 20s. I started my business at 25. Before that, I was just fucking around, you know? So you can't, some things you have to have. And if I tell anybody, don't compromise with anybody if those are your dreams and goals. Because one day you're going to be on your deathbed and you're going to have there's two regrets that everybody has, whether you're successful or not. The regret that you didn't do anything, take any risk, and the regret that you didn't move fast enough. If you ask anybody, everybody will say, I wish I did it quicker, faster, and easier. Everybody says that. Like, if I look back and I tell people, say, you know, what was something that you would have told yourself when you were 25? Hire quicker, move quicker, invest quicker. But I didn't know. I was stupid. You know, I talk to people all the time that I mentor, and then they're like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't have the fucking money. I don't have this. And it's like, one day, motherfucker, you're going to be like, I should have done it quicker, faster, and easier. Because people will go to, if you don't do it now, you won't do it later. You know, like I just dropped, I don't remember, like 20, 30 grand with Wes in the last 6 months. My ultimate goal in my mind is like, this motherfucker's going to move me faster, quicker, easier, and it's going to get me there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not up to him. It's up to me. Like, with anybody who mentors, he's not going to sit there and be like, drink this fucking potion. Here we go. It's going to be like, this is the shit you do, and this is what you get. That's simple. But as simple as it sounds, we don't fucking move like that as human beings. Like, we're not triggered like that. It's very, very rare individuals to do that are they self-move like that. Like, very rare. But when you find those people who are like that and have built it, normally they've had mentors. They've learned it from somewhere, and when they pass it on to the next person, hey, skip all the bullshit for 10 years. This is what you're going to do. In the next 6 months is where you could be at. And that goes back to telling you with what you said. Like, when you're like, yeah, you have more experience. I just have more experience of the stupid shit you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Your problem is that you're young and you have ego, and you're going to be like, no, I need to learn it. And I see that all the time when people like, oh, well, I'll let you know. Right now I'm going to hustle. Why the fuck would I pay you? That's what they're thinking. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It's ego. You know what I mean? But as you get more smarter, and if I tell you, hey, right now you're 24, go tap into this person, whatever they want to teach you, do it now, and you'll fucking cut through all the bullshit. You'll save so much money. But people look at like 5 grand, 10 grand, $500, and oh my God, how am I going to do it? And they're like, I could use that for myself instead of paying it for you, or fuck that, I'm not going to help you to get richer. That's how people think.
Yeah.
They hold themselves back, and they will take them 10 years, 20 years to get through it, and they'll never understand it, or sometimes not even get out of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's all it is. So there's no time frame. Like, I look at people in my group, and I'm like, these motherfuckers are making a lot of money. Their English isn't as great. Neither is mine. Or they're like from another country, or like whatever it is, and these cats are stacking. They're just moving quicker than I am. They're implementing the same information that I'm being given faster, quicker than I am. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's that simple. But it's so fucking simple that we convince ourselves, like they've said, that it's not that simple. Or else we would figure it out ourselves. Yeah. And I'm quoting that from Wes, you know. But look at me. I mean, it's taking me a little longer. I've been with them 2 months, and like the needle's moving.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the needle's moving. You use 3 grand, it's 3 grand. Like, you know, then it becomes 6 and 10 and 12 and 24. And it's like, the only thing I'm going to tell myself 2 years from now, when it's like 50 or 100 per month, I should have done it faster, quicker. I promise you, I'm going to tell myself that.
Yeah. So do you think was the biggest anchor like 5 years ago that like, because after, you know, was it your marriage that was holding you back? Was it your mindset that was holding you back? What like changed or what shifted that in the next 5 years you were able to build and grow and move to your house in the hills and have the cars that you have?
I think I don't blame anything on her, because you control your life, right? Mm-hmm. I compromise. Mm-hmm. When you compromise, you're telling yourself like, hey, I'm not going to go to the gym because you want me to stay home. I'm just giving you an example. I'm not going to read that book because you want to watch a movie. I'm not going to eat healthy because we're going to have a cheat meal. I'm not going to... So that's a compromise, right? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you don't have a gun on my head, or else I would be a hostage. So I'm compromising. So when you compromise, you're dropping your standards. So I drop my standards. So what happened was, at some point, I was all like, I'm being a fucking bitch. I know in my heart, the man in the mirror, I'm not being truthful to. And I can't compromise no more. That's why when you came in and we clash at times, and I tell you certain things I don't compromise, or we have an argument, that's me not compromising with you.
Yeah.
That's me telling you I'm not going to accept that. And perhaps because you're not experienced or you're still having gone through a lot, you're like, oh, you're fucking being a dick or whatever you might think. But I know that, like, eventually as we talk, like last night, you come to an understanding and being like, he's not compromising his standards, but it's all for the good of the both of us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And for that, we benefit. Look at where we live together. You drive the car that you've always wanted. We have multiple vehicles. We travel to certain places. We eat great food. We go to all the fucking greatest events. We sit in the front. Where does that come from? Standards. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, those standards are what give us the lifestyle that we have.
Yeah.
Not the hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I used to think. I used to think, like, work hard, but my standards were fucked up. So I was fat, and I made a living. I didn't make a lifestyle. And that's a big difference where people get confused, right? So people are like, well, I have a good living. Meaning, okay, you make 5-10 grand as opposed to your last job that you made 3 grand. That's a living, but that's not a lifestyle, because you live based off your labor. You know what I mean? But a lifestyle is when you don't compromise, and those good habits create a lifestyle in abundance where multiple streams of either income or opportunity come from all different shapes and forms, or, you know, whatever opens up the door. And that's why I'm seeing such a tremendous compound now, because I'm understanding that, and I'm associating myself with individuals who have done it and have proved to do it. And I just know that, like, hey, that's my bridge. And that bridge is mentorship, proximity, non-negotiables, being persistent, coaches. And I'm like, that's my non-negotiable. So right now that I have Mel, it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure here all of us can figure out and Google how to get a six-pack. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Would you agree, Paul?
Yeah.
I think we could all agree we could figure out how to fucking eat healthy. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, but what is Mel gonna do? What did she say in her podcast? She's like, I figured it out. I was a skinny ass broad, and now I'm fucking. I won 2 fucking championships on bodybuilding. So a smart motherfucker is gonna be like, hey, let me pay you to make me disciplined in my weakness and get me there faster. Does that make sense? Because I'm not disciplined enough, even though I know Google will tell me to get me through that and get it to me. So I'm going to hire you to get me there faster, quicker, and easier. So that's the exchange, right? Mm-hmm. Service for money. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're doing right there. Wealthy people understand that shit. That's why they hire the maids, they hire the gardeners, they hire the car washer, they hire these, because those are things that slow us down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do I say? Like, with the moment that I could afford somebody to make our prep meals, I don't want to do that shit. It's time consuming. But right now, because it's part of my standard, I'm willing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But long term, it makes no sense for my lifestyle. Does that make sense? Like, I can make more money doing something else, or whatever, or even getting rest to, you know, recoup, whatever it is, because it's 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. We're doing these meals. I have that understanding, and that's why you see the compound of what's happening with my life right now.
That's cool. That's crazy. I think you definitely have an immense amount of discipline, and I experience it firsthand. Like, we'll go to bed, like you wake up at 4:30 in the morning every day and do 100 burpees. And then you work all day. You don't come back until 11:30, 12. Like, I mean, we get home. We leave the office 10:30, and we don't get home till like 11:30. 11 p.m. and then we don't go to bed till like 11:30, 12 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
What's the driving force behind that? Like, what's your purpose? Like, solely, like, what's the ultimate goal? Is there an ultimate goal for all of it, or?
I think for most successful people, or people for others who live a basic life or a mediocre life, they look at them as superheroes or people who are blessed. Mm-hmm. But I think the purpose in life is for us to be a great example to the world. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think most people look at like the Elon Musk or the people who have, have transformed the world into making it better, whether it's iPhones, computers, electric cars, whatever it might be, and see them as like, wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what drives those individuals. It just happens to be that discipline and being consistent pays you very well, and hand over fist, like in everything that you do. Think of anybody, and the people that I've even interviewed have been around, they've all wanted to contribute to something into this world to make it better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's why they're so successful. And that drive is what keeps people alive. It makes them feel like they're contributing to the world before they leave this world. And for me, it's like hearing people be like, wow, you inspire me. Like, I have people right now. Okay, I do burpees because it mentally makes me stronger. I don't really do it because I don't think, yeah, it's okay for the exercise. It gets my blood pumping. But it's not real crazy workout. It's only 100 of them, right? But the discipline that it tells myself, like, hey, most motherfuckers are still sleeping.
Yeah.
Or most motherfuckers who are getting up are like still taking off the boogers off their eyes and they're just watching your story. But for me, it's like you're doing what most people won't. So because of that, you're one step ahead. And then what do you see now? You see people like, hey, I want to do the challenge. And I get tagged every day. I have like a handful of people who do burpees because of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's an inspiration. That's lighting one candle that lights on the other one, that lights on the other one, right?
Yeah.
That's a good thing to have on the world. What we're doing, we're influencing people. Like, people are being influenced all day, whether it's good or bad. It's just, what is your contribution? You're either on the fucking sidelines and being influenced, or you're influencing people. But some shit's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start seeing the good of what you're doing because you're disciplined, and you start seeing other people adapt to it, that's amazing.
I love it. You're a really inspirational person, Edwin. And I've always, like, and I don't take advantage of it enough,
You don't.
I appreciate running next to you, like, day in and day out. Because you have definitely made an impact on my life. And seeing you build not only the companies that you currently have, but now you're building a fourth one, Underdog Coaching, like, and taking all these people and shining a light on all of the underdogs, and really being the flag carrier for that, and showing people that there's a better way to do it and there's a better life out there. I think that's, like, it takes a huge heart to do it. And you come off very, like, strong-headed and cold, but I know your heart, and it takes a good heart and a good person to really want to take on a stranger and be like, hey, let me walk you through this. I've been there. Like, I got you. So thank you for that,
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Edwin, where can people find you? I know you got your mentorship program, you got your YouTube channel, you got a podcast coming out. You're just all over the place.
I think the best way to reach me is the Real Edwin Lopez, which is my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I think through there is where I'm most active with everybody right now, just for the simple fact that a lot of things are moving through there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very active in it. But yeah, you just send me a DM, anything like that, and we'll see what I can do, or if I can't be the best resource for you, I can lead you to somewhere else. But you definitely have to self-develop, man.
Yeah, that's a good point to make. Before we close out, if someone wanted to get mentored by you, like, what does it take? You don't just take anyone?
Well, it's not so much like it's their will to want to change.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody wants to be successful. Like, I don't think anybody here does not want to have money or have a nice home or have things like that. But when they speak, I think that's when you really know if they're really ready or they want it. You know what I mean? Because like, when you have a life, when you have a when you have a not a lifestyle, but like a
Purpose?
Not a purpose,
A standard?
but no, when you're not starving, and you have like
okay.
you have a means, right? You have a home and all that. You could ask anybody. I don't think anybody would tell you, no, I don't want to. But when you your back's behind, on the when you're fuck, dude.
Backs against the wall.
Yeah, when your back's against the wall, and you're just like, I need to be greater, or I need to do. I think those are the people who really want it. I just think most people are bullshitting.
So what happened? Well, I don't know how much longer we have on the podcast, but what happens when someone's like, I make it to your level, I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I got the cars, I got the house. Like, what happens to me then? Like, do you still mentor people at that level? Like, they're comfortable, they're happy.
I think,
or does that depend on the person?
I think it depends on the person, but I think I just think the finish line, when you get close to it, it always moves up.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, it always moves up. See, people think like it's the car, right? Or it's the house, or it's the watch, or it's like, those are just small milestones that just reinforces you, that says, hey, this is that, but it's just a fucking watch, or it's just a car.
Yeah.
So the chase of being like, hey, I want a Maybach. When I get the Maybach, I promise you I'm gonna want a Rolls Royce. Like, and it's not so much that it's, oh my goodness, the Maybach or the Rolls Royce. It's the fact that your odds, like everybody else, were against you, and you got it and you did it. So what's next? So when you look back, most successful people, they love the fact that they could pull other people forward. They can't do the work for you,
Mm-hmm.
but they can guide you to it.
Yeah.
So if you, let's say for example, you, when you get to where I'm at and you get whatever car you want, I will probably be on the roads and I'll be like, hey, that's amazing, but come and check out this.
Mm-hmm.
And now you get pulled. And because I know the way you think, you're just going to be like, yeah, let me get one of those. And by the time you get there, and I'm like, whoa, check this shit out. Check out private plane. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like right now, I've never thought about a private plane. Never. Like I've never. And like right now, I'm like, oh man, I want to be on a private plane.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I was like, I wanted a Mercedes and get out of or 3 years ago, I wanted a Mercedes and I wanted to get out of a 1996 Lincoln Town Car. I'm here. Now I'm like, oh, let me try first class, or let me try like those Cocoon fucking planes that take you to Europe and they're all like private, you know what I mean? Or a private plane. That's me, the finish line moving up and up and up and up. And that's what we ultimately is our, like, in a sense, our drug of like, well, we want another hit, another hit, and another hit, and another hit. That's why people who aren't moving in life are like, that motherfucker's selfish, or that motherfucker's never satisfied, or like, look at him, how come he doesn't give to the poor, or he doesn't do that? Obviously people don't know what people are giving or doing, but it's not that. Like, that's just because you're so fucking disciplined and you wanted it so bad that you just get fucking abundance. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I love it. We could sit here and talk all day. I just know it, but yeah, I hope that you'll be back on the podcast for more episodes.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And I can't wait to see your growth and everything. I think what you're doing is amazing.
Thank you.
I think you definitely have a gift. I think I've told you prior to all this, it's just continue to go, continue to be coachable. Find people who are going to challenge you and the things that you think are good for you and what they think is good for you. Because I think that's the hardest thing for people. Because what normally you think is good for you, it's normally not.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
I agree. Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Beyond Her podcast. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and comment if you like the content. Thank you so much.